The most painful thing about emotional betrayal is not the moment it becomes visible. It is the time before that. The weeks. The months. Sometimes the years when something in you already knew. When the signal was arriving, clearly and repeatedly, and the person you loved and the people around you, and every voice, including sometimes your own, told you that what you were sensing was not real. That you were too sensitive. That you were looking for problems. That love doesn't always feel the same, and that's normal, and you need to stop. And the betrayal, when it finally came, did not feel like a surprise. It felt like confirmation. Because your nervous system had already been grieving it. Had already been living inside the loss of it. Quietly, without a name, without permission, for longer than anyone around you knew. And the question that has lived with you since, the one that this channel is going to answer today, is not, why did they do it? The question is, why did I know before I knew? And why did no one believe me, including me? If you have watched someone shift, if you have felt the ground move beneath a relationship and been told the ground was fine, this is for you. Or maybe you are watching because you have been the one who shifted. Maybe you are watching because you know beneath all the explanations you have given, and the ones you have given yourself, that you began to leave before you left. That something in you withdrew, not as a decision, not with intention, but as a response your body initiated before your conscious mind had any say in it. And the withdrawal happened quietly and completely. And the person who loved you felt every degree of it without being able to name it. And you could not stop it even when you tried. If the gap between who you were in the beginning of a relationship and who your nervous system forced you to become, and the cost of that gap to someone who stayed when you were already going, has been one of the heaviest things you carry. This is for both of you. Stay with us on Wired for Intense, the Unquiet Mind. For 16 years, we have worked with the science of emotional survival, specifically the ways our nervous systems learn to protect us from love, long before we were old enough to question whether that protection was still necessary. What you are about to understand about the shift, about the thing that happens in a relationship before the betrayal becomes visible, is not a character verdict. It is a nervous system map, and it is one of the most common, most invisible, and most misunderstood sequences in every intimate relationship that has ever quietly come apart. You knew them at their warmest. There is something about being loved by someone before the shift that becomes the reference point for everything that follows. You carry it. The specific quality of their full attention, the way they used to reach across a table without thinking about it, the particular laugh that felt reserved for the room when it was just the two of you. You carry it the way you carry the memory of a season that was better than every season since, with a precision that the body insists on even when the mind has moved on. And then something changed. Not in the way that changes happen in the stories we tell about relationships. Not with a clear incident. Not with a conversation you can point to and say, before this and after this. It changed the way erosion changes a landscape, incrementally, through accumulation rather than event, without announcing itself until the geography was already different. The attention, which used to land fully, began arriving slightly off-center, technically present, functionally somewhere else. You asked a question and received the correct answer at the wrong distance. They were in the room, their body was in the room, and something essential about their presence had begun the process of departure. The small things started first. The way they used to contact you when something reminded them of you, and then stopped. Not dramatically, but gradually, the way a tide recedes between high watermarks until you realize you cannot remember when the water last reached you. Plans that used to form with ease now required a kind of navigation that had not previously been necessary. Not refusal, not conflict, a friction. A quality of hesitation where there used to be none. You noticed. You said nothing. Because what would you say? The way you pause before you answer me has changed? The room is 2 degrees colder than it was 6 months ago? I can feel something leaving, and I don't have a word for it yet? These are not sentences you can say to another person. They are not provable. They are not reasonable by the standards of the conversation you would need to have to say them. They are felt, registered in the body, in the nervous system, in the part of you that has been reading the emotional temperature of every room you have ever entered, since long before you understood that reading it was what you were doing. And so you stayed quiet, and tried to explain the feeling to yourself, and arrived, over and over, at the same conclusion your body had already reached. Something is leaving. And I do not know how to stop it. In 1994, neuroscientist Stephen Porges published what would become one of the most significant frameworks for understanding human connection ever developed. He named a process that had no previous scientific language, a process that happens continuously, below the level of conscious awareness, in every social interaction you have ever had. He called it neuroception. Neuroception is not perception. It is not a process you participate in. It is the nervous system's automatic, moment-by-moment scanning of the relational environment. reading microexpressions, vocal tone, response latency, the quality of eye contact, the specific muscle tension around another person's mouth, the rhythm of their breathing, for signals of safety or threat. Before you have a single thought about whether you are safe with the person in front of you, your nervous system has already made its determination, and it has begun adjusting your behavior accordingly. This is what was happening in the relationship before the shift became visible. Two nervous systems, yours and the other person's, running their neuroceptive assessments continuously, in every shared moment. And somewhere in the accumulation of those moments, one of those nervous systems began returning a different result. Less safe than before. Not because of a single incident. Because of what Porges identified as a neuroceptive baseline shift, the point at which the nervous system recalibrates its fundamental read of the relational environment. The small things you noticed were not imagined. They were real. They were your nervous system reading their nervous system's realignment, in the only language bodies speak: weight, temperature, the specific quality of attention withdrawing. In 2014, Bessel van der Kolk, professor of psychiatry at Boston University, formalized what practitioners had observed for decades, that the body registers relational threat before the mind has language for it. He documented the physiological reality of what he called the body's truth-telling function. The tightening in the chest you could not explain. The disrupted sleep that began weeks before the conversation that confirmed everything. The sourceless anxiety that lived in the body of someone whose nervous system was responding to a threat their conscious mind had not yet permitted itself to name. The body was not wrong. It has never been wrong. The tragedy is that we have been systematically taught to distrust it in favor of the story being told aloud. And Alan Shore, whose research at UCLA into right brain affect regulation has shaped 3 decades of attachment science, documented the specific withdrawal sequence. The right hemisphere, responsible for processing all emotional and relational information, detects shifts in attachment availability before the left hemisphere has words for them. When it detects a change in the emotional presence of a significant person, it initiates its own protective bracing. A subtle withdrawal that mirrors, at a smaller scale, the withdrawal it is already detecting. This is what was happening in your body while the shift was occurring. Not oversensitivity. Not paranoia. Accurate neurological perception, arriving at the right conclusion through the correct channels in a system that had not yet given you the vocabulary to act on what it knew. What does it cost to live inside the shift before you can name it? There is a specific exhaustion that belongs to this period. Not the exhaustion of a crisis, which has the clarity of a visible thing. The exhaustion of sustained vigilance without a named object. Of a nervous system running a continuous threat scan on the person it is supposed to feel safest with. Of a body working, every shared moment, every silence, every interaction, to decode whether this particular quality of distance means something, whether the pause before the answer is new, whether you are reading something real or constructing it. The self-doubt is its own cost, because you cannot prove it. The person is still there, still technically present, still saying the right things with the wrong distance behind them, and the gap between what your body is registering and what the available evidence will support becomes a kind of private dissolution. You begin to interrogate your own perception. Am I too sensitive? Is this my anxiety? Am I creating what I'm afraid of? And you become, slowly, unreliable to yourself. That learned distrust of your own most accurate signal is the most expensive thing the shift takes from you. More expensive than the relationship, because it travels with you after. The body keeps score, not as metaphor. Physiologically, the chronic low-grade activation of living inside an unacknowledged relational shift, scanning constantly, finding no confirmation, finding no relief, accumulates in the body. Cortisol disrupting sleep, appetite without hunger. The specific, unnamed anxiety of a person whose nervous system is responding to a threat that no one in the room will validate. And the person who shifted is paying too. Because the withdrawal is not peace. It is its own confinement. A nervous system running a protection program that creates the distance it is trying to survive. They are not closer to safety in the withdrawal. They are less capable of it. And the relationship they are leaving, before they have decided to leave, before they know that is what they are doing, is holding someone who loves them, and living inside the evidence of a departure that has not yet been named. There is something that happened before you, before the relationship, before the shift. Something that lives in the nervous system of the person who withdrew, a set of early experiences that installed a specific prediction about what happens when attachment reaches a certain depth, when the investment becomes real enough that its loss would cost something essential, when the stakes are no longer abstract. For most people who shift in this way, the origin is not dramatic. It is not, usually, a single wound. It is what researchers call cumulative attunement failure. The slow accumulation of early relational moments in which emotional closeness was consistently paired with one of 3 things. unpredictability, conditional withdrawal, or the specific experience of being left while the person was still physically present. A parent who was warm in the world and somewhere else at home. A childhood environment where love was available, but required careful performance to access and was withdrawn when the performance failed. An early relationship in which the depth of feeling was met not with cruelty, but with something harder to name, the particular damage of someone who could not receive what they were being offered and so returned it changed. The nervous system records these sequences, with the thoroughness of a system built, above everything else, for survival. And what it learns, through repetition, through accumulation, through the confirmation of the same result across multiple rooms and multiple relationships, is a prediction. Not in words. In the body. In the pre-language place where early learning lives. When something matters this much, when the investment is this real, when the loss of this would take something genuine, the only safe move is to begin the leaving before the leaving is done to you. Not a decision. A sequence. Biological preparation. A preemptive withdrawal from the thing that could cost the most, initiating before the cost is incurred. Before the loss can happen. Before the person across from you can leave first. This is the origin of the shift. Not a choice made against you. A nervous system following the only safe route it has ever been shown, through the specific, familiar territory of love that is deep enough to matter. The person you loved did not shift because you were not enough. They shifted because you were exactly enough. And exactly enough, to a nervous system trained in that particular school, is precisely what triggers the alarm. Here is what almost nobody understands about the person who withdrew. They were not protecting themselves from you. They were protecting themselves from what loving you required them to risk. And there is a difference. A profound neurologically specific difference between those two things. A difference that changes what the shift means. That does not erase its cost, but changes what it says about you. Not because you were wrong to feel what you felt. You were exactly right, because the withdrawal was not a verdict on your worth. It was a prediction running on outdated data. A nervous system applying the logic of an old room. A room where these exact conditions led to a specific kind of pain, to a new one. Implementing a protection sequence that was appropriate, that was in fact essential, in the environment where it was written, and executing it now, automatically, without the capacity to check whether what made it necessary still exists. The shift is not indifference. It is the most sophisticated form of self-protection available to a nervous system that was trained, in its most formative period, to believe that full presence in love is indistinguishable from full exposure to its eventual loss. And this, precisely this, is why it is so invisible until it is too late. Because the person shifting is not, from the inside, aware of leaving. They are aware of discomfort, of a kind of pressure they cannot source, of a texture of closeness their nervous system is reading, through nobody's fault, through no intention, as the recognizable feeling of a previous danger. And they move away from it, the way a hand moves from heat. Before the decision. Before the thought. Inconsistent presence. The specific pattern of warmth followed by withdrawal followed by warmth does not feel like love with complications. It registers in the nervous system of the person living inside it as something closer to low-grade, chronic threat. Research has consistently shown that unpredictable relational availability activates the body's stress response more durably than consistent absence. The nervous system can adapt to reliable absence. It cannot find rest inside unpredictability. This is not a personal weakness. This is neuroscience. And it means that the shift, even when it is not conscious, even when it is not intended, lands in the body of the person receiving it as something the nervous system is designed to treat as danger. That is not an excuse. The shift is real. Its cost is real. What it takes from the person living inside it, the self-trust, the perceptual confidence, the capacity to believe their own body's most accurate signal, is real and measurable and lasting. Understanding the nervous system behind it is not the same as forgiving it before you are ready. It is the same as refusing to be the collateral damage of a program someone else has not yet chosen to examine. If this is still landing for you, if what we have named in the last 10 minutes has finally given language to something you have been carrying without it, stay with us. What comes next is the part most people never reach. The part that lives after the understanding. The nervous system does not change through insight. This is the hardest part to accept, for both people in this pattern. Reading this, understanding the neuroception, recognizing the origin, naming the prediction, none of it, alone, rewrites the program. Because the program was not written in language. It was written in experience. And it can only be rewritten the same way it was written, through new experience, repeated and consistent and embodied, until the nervous system accumulates enough evidence to revise the prediction it has been running. Daniel Siegel, clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, and one of the founding researchers in interpersonal neurobiology, documented what he called earned security, the mechanism by which an adult nervous system rewrites its attachment predictions, not through understanding, but through new relational experience. Through the accumulation of moments in which the predicted danger did not arrive. Through the body discovering, one exposure at a time, that the room is different from the one where the program was written. For the person who created the shift, the path is not insight. It is 1 degree closer than the withdrawal wants to go. 1 moment of staying when the body says leave. 1 instance of allowing someone to be fully present during the alarm, and surviving it. Not with the alarm silenced, not without the discomfort. With the alarm sounding, and the body choosing to remain anyway, and the nervous system beginning slowly, cautiously, with the reluctance of something that has been wrong before about safety, to update its read of this room. For the person who felt the shift, the path is different. It is learning to trust the accuracy of your own body again. To understand that what you sensed was not oversensitivity, but neuroception. The body performing the precise function it was designed to perform. To stop apologizing for perceiving something real before you could prove it. And to understand that the gap between what your body knew and what the available evidence would support is not a flaw in your perception. It is one of the most disorienting experiences in adult attachment. And reconnecting with your own body's intelligence, learning to act on what it registers, rather than waiting for external confirmation that never comes in time, is the work. The path out is not a conversation. It is not a confrontation. It is not the right words delivered at the right moment. It is, for both people, the slow, unglamorous, repetitive work of learning that the new room is safe enough to stay in. 1 degree, 1 exposure, 1 instance of the prediction being wrong. That is how nervous systems learn that the room has changed. There is a moment, and you may have already lived it, or you may be living it now, when you understand that the version of the relationship you have been trying to return to cannot be found behind you. It was not lost in a single event. It did not end at a specific point you could mark on a timeline. The shift happened before you had the name for it. The leaving began before the departure. And the grief of that, the grief of a loss that occurred without announcement, without acknowledgement, inside the ordinary days of a relationship that looked, from the outside, like it was still intact, is its own specific wound. One that does not get the rituals that other losses receive. No clear date, no public acknowledgement, no permission to mourn something that, technically, had not yet ended. You were not wrong about what you felt. Hold that. Because the voices that told you otherwise, including yours, were working with incomplete information. They were applying the standards of visible evidence to a process that lives below visibility. They were asking your body to produce proof of something that exists in the nervous system, not in the record. You felt the shift before it had a name. That is not a failure of perception. That is perception functioning exactly as it was designed to. And if you are the person who shifted, if you are reading this from the other side of that distance, there is something I want you to understand about what you did and what you are capable of. You are not the program. You are the person running it. And those are not the same thing. The program was written in a room where the distance was the only available safety. That room is not this one. The person you withdrew from was not the source of the old danger. And the version of yourself that stayed, that wanted to stay, that knew on some level that the withdrawal was costing both of you something real, that version has not disappeared. It is available. It has always been available. 1 degree closer than last time is how you find it. If you recognized yourself in the person who felt the shift, if you have spent time questioning the accuracy of your own body's knowledge, if you have learned to preemptively apologize for perceiving something real, I want to say this directly. Your nervous system was not lying to you. The signal was accurate. The thing you sensed before you could prove it was not anxiety, not projection, not the sabotage of a relationship that was fine. It was neuroception. Your body performing a function it was designed for, reading the relational environment with the precision of a system that has been doing this work since long before you had language. The failure was not in your perception. The failure was in having no language for what you were perceiving. This video is that language. Take it. And if you recognized yourself in the person who shifted, if you have felt, inside the distance you created, the specific isolation of having moved away from something you genuinely wanted and being unable to stop the movement, I want to offer this. The program that drove the shift was written for a room that no longer exists. The withdrawal was not who you are. It was the most efficient option available to a nervous system that had never been shown a safer one. You are not the shift. You are the person who has the capacity to stay. And the body that learned to leave, that same body, with the same architecture, with the same capacity for adaptation that wrote the original program, can learn something different. 1 exposure at a time. 1 moment of staying when the alarm sounds. 1 room that turns out to be safe enough. Join the Wired for Intense community as we move from frozen to felt. Subscribe, like, and share your story in the comments to keep learning the language your body has been speaking all along. We read them, and you might find, in what someone else writes, The words you didn't know you were looking for. Before you go, we want to ask you something. Was there a moment when you felt the shift before you could name it? Before you had the proof, before anyone believed you? What did your body register first? Tell us in the comments. We read every one, and you will find, in what someone else writes, that you were not alone in what you sensed.